Ugh, I love that game. Is my headache from dehydration, hunger, or because I haven't seen the sun in 3 damn days? Hello, dear listener, and welcome back to Girls Talk Comics. Today we're doing something a little different. This is your girl, Lieutenant of Literature, Jessica! Woo woo! And I'm here with my lovely co-host,
Aaron, Master of Mediocrity. Bow, 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 bow. I totally tabbed.
What are we doing today, Aaron?
All right. So today's going to be kind of a new thing. So we're going to give this a shot, see how well this goes. We had mentioned wanting to work on more creator-specific episodes, and today is one of those. I wanted to talk about Fiona Staples. Saga has been a really huge hit, so I wanted to kind of chat about it, chat about her, see what I could find about her. So as a nerd and somebody who spent far too many years in school, I really love researching things. And so I was really excited about the idea of researching comic creators. And then I found out that there's just not like... I love comic creators dearly, but unless you've done something bad, there is no Dostoevsky level of comic creator. Like, I think there are a few that are, kind of towards that level of celebrity, but no one has done extensive documentaries or biographies on a lot. There are definitely some of the older ones who've been very influential and made a really big mark, but even... long story short, it's hard. But, so Fiona Staples, I did find a few things about her, and would you like to know a few things?
I would love to. That's the whole reason I'm here.
Excellent. And that's true. We're not getting paid for this. It's fine. I actually really love it. Fiona Staples is an illustrator, a penciler, an inker, a colorist, and a graphic artist. Essentially, she's a woman of many talents. She should be, since she went to the Alberta College of Art and Design. She's from Calgary, Canada, just kind of putting that in as an awkward side note, and that's probably why she went to school in Alberta. Her style is very much into digital art and vibrant colors, which she has won several Eisner, Harvey Awards, Hugo, and British Fantasy Awards, so she's very well recognized for this work. Breakthrough work was Saga with Brian K. Vaughan, but that wasn't her first published piece. That was Amphibious Nightmare, or so I found. It was Amphibious Nightmare, and it was from a 24-hour comic in the About Comics anthology, 24-Hour Comics Day Highlights in 2005. I tried to do a quick Google search for that, and it didn't work. She's done work on a lot of other things. She worked on Mystery Society, Hawksmoor, North 40, Aliens, Fire and Stone, some Secret Lair Magic the Gathering cards for 2021, which I asked one of my Magic the Gathering friends what the heck that meant, and it's pretty much just a special printing of cards, like special editions. She's done work on Archie, Jonah Heck, and Thunder Agents. So she has a pretty, extensive work history at this point. Her longest, I think, being Saga. I also found out Saga was really exciting for her because she was a fan of Brian K. Vaughan's other work, Why the Last Man. So she finally got to work with somebody she was a fan of. And Saga, I think, was also her first long-form comic. So it really, opened a door for her and was somebody she was a fan of. That is so cool. Like, I'm so proud of her for that.
That is really sweet. That is really sweet. Like, aw. Like, you guys love that.
Yeah. Like, I hope it was really exciting and not one of those, like, don't meet your heroes things. But I would imagine that if it was bad, they wouldn't have gotten as far into Saga as they did before they took that hiatus. Just fingers crossed it's coming back soon, because at the time of this recording, it hasn't. Rumor has it 2021 is supposed to be the year of Saga's return, but, it's early January when we're recording this. It's not when the episode's getting dropped, but so it could change, but right now, nothing. That's okay. So prior to drawing Saga, she's really mostly just drawn stuff for herself. Saga is a work that she's drawing with a team, which definitely kind of changes, I think, how an artist does stuff, because it's now outside contribution, outside input, and outside influence on the work that you're producing. I am somebody who just doodles. I sketch. So I can't call myself an artist because I don't do well with other people's input. When other people give me directions, I flounder. Can't even draw a triangle at that point. So her being able to produce such a beautiful work with so many other influences, and every artist who does that, it's just huge kudos to you all. I did look up a little things. So Saga is really great for her. It allows her to continue creating, but she doesn't get bored. Saga really allows her to flex her creativity and do a lot of research when it comes to how would designs be modified for non-humanoids, for other humanoids with like other animal bits like wings or horns, and really kind of explore how things would exist in different universes, which I thought was really, really cool.
I'm just like super impressed that this is her first long form novel because graphic novel, because like her frickin' style is so just like distinct. Like she's just so set, like it seems very much like, I don't know, like I feel like she's been drawing this way forever. Like it's kind of weird to think about this being like one of her first major like long form. This is how we're doing this like for the next 5 to how many years has Saga been going on, like
yeah.
I don't know, like it kind of blew my mind a little bit there that she had like only a few shorter jobs before this, because it's so, like her cheekbones, like her just ways that she draws are very distinct. I would have never guessed. Like I'm just,
oh yeah, she came out swinging.
Got me a little flabbergasted.
Yeah. She's like, I'm here and I'm gonna kick ass.
Yeah,
which has been great. Like as a reader of Saga, yeah. No, she definitely earned this work and definitely earned this opportunity, and I'm so glad that she was given it, either by Image or Brian Cavon. I'm not sure who connected them. I thought I saw something that Brian reached out, but I don't know how that works. I think there's a lot of, you have work history with people, or you have like a friend of a friend, or you get on Twitter, but I don't think Fiona is on Twitter, so like who knows. And it's certain Twitter wasn't really, I think, as popular whenever Saga got started.
Yeah. But was there a time before Twitter?
That's a really good question. No. I have no idea when Twitter got started. I remember when Facebook got started because I was in high school and all of my friends and stuff, we were like really excited about the fact that we could get access to Facebook without being in college. So Facebook maybe started before high school for me. Totally dating ourselves. It's fine. The importance of who follows who and who friended who and Facebook official. Ugh.
Oh God, Facebook official. Oh no. I've been in a relationship for 7 years now and they don't know that he exists on my Facebook, and that's how I like it.
I have my relationship status hidden, and it's so hilarious because I keep getting ads and messages for like, are you looking for singles like you?
Yeah. It's like, no, sorry. Wrong tree.
I just think that's
dog meat,
so
wrong
funny.
Tree.
Right. It's just so freaking funny when I get like, hey, you're single, here's a dating app. And I'm like, I know a lot of those get spammed to a lot of people, but specifically like on Facebook, which is supposed to cater to your identity, it's just so fucking funny.
Yeah, to have them not know.
It's pretty great.
A big aspect of your life.
Yeah.
Pardon my
anyway,
sorry.
So,
yeah.
No, you're good. Let's talk a little bit more about Fiona. So, one of the things that I thought was really cool about her interviews was specifically about the research she does for the character design and the world design. Because there is a lot in Saga that like she has to take into account people have horns, people have wings, there's a computer head species, there's a whale like a seal species, just this variety of alien life that exists. And how would clothing look, or seats look, or spaceships look? And I thought that was, or sometimes sex, like, and I thought that kind of hypothetical. Yeah, right. And I thought that was kind of a cool thing for her to talk about, is like, what creatively would it look like? She did mention that she might not get to do a lot of influence on the writing, but she does get a lot of freedom to influence and control the creative, the visual side of that. And I thought that was really great. So it's her doing that research and that building and that developing. And I like what she came up with. And I flipped through Saga after reading through her stuff and researching, and I saw like the helmet that she gives, is it Marco, or his family, where it like flares up so it can fit around the horns on. And I was just thinking about the tree ship, and it was just such a cool way of looking at space and all of the little details. And I never would have thought of that. I would have just drawn something that fit the aesthetic of the character, but her actually looking at it as kind of a practicality side, like how would having wings influence clothing design? I was like, oh, that's a cool way of looking. It's just a different way where I would have looked like the clothing looks cool, like it's just, I thought that was kind of a cool insight to her creative process, and important thing to know about it as well. So
also, like, the way that she like hides, like the little bits on the characters that have a purpose, like the main character, one of the main characters in Saga, the sort of like shoulder pad looking things that she has, like she's naked quite a bit, and like how that's sort of like how she tucks in her wings. I don't know, like I think it, I was impressed the first time I read this about how great and sweeping the sort of world building was in such a condensed way, and a lot of that does play on the visuals, and honestly, most of it plays on the visuals. And so I'm just like, why is it so hard to talk about artists? Like, it's easy to talk about like comics in themselves, but whenever you're talking about a style of art, it seems like it's a vocabulary I don't have a lot of words for. I'm kind of struggling a little bit, but it seems like
I was gonna say we're academics, and so our education has been mostly in words. For example, I'm a social worker and I learned Russian, and you, I think, were in literature,
linguistics, and I learned Arabic. So yeah,
none of that's really an art focus. So we've had a very word focused framing, and so now we're like, how do we talk about pictures? Like, I have no idea.
Or some of these scary ass like monsters she created are pretty intense, but like, how do you encompass this in a word on audio?
Right.
When you talk about
and
art?
I think it's also kind of an interesting thing, because like there are so many different ways to do art and to present it. And reading a lot of different comics, I've seen artists use art in very different ways. There's like, I think I've done it as like, or very kind of metaphorical, cinematography kind of feel, and hers just kind of has this sweeping world feel. Like, it's, instead of the backdrops being devoid of subject matter, or like there's a touch of familiarity and newness to it because it is sci-fi and fantasy, and it feels, I want to say, balanced. Like everything is well thought out and justified in its existence. And I don't know how to say that besides saying well thought out and justified. Like, it just looks natural for it being a sci-fi unfamiliar world. Like, I don't know how to say that besides how I said it. So there you go. I'm a word person trying to talk an art, and it's not, it's hard.
But you said cinematic, and I gotta tell you, like, I'm holding the first volume of Saga right now, and looking on the back, it's like the best movie poster ever. Like she really does, like she uses colors and the way that she draws faces and, like even the way that she draws the little aliens and stuff, like the more alien. How about that? How about I say that way? The more alien of the species, like the very, I don't know. I like to talk about, okay, so it doesn't look like an average comic book. Like it doesn't look like one of your big two superhero comic books, right? But it also does kind of, more so than some of the other things that we've done, like mooncakes, or like
I want to
Are
say
You
like
Listening?
LaGuardia
Or like,
too.
yeah, LaGuardia. It feels like, I don't know, it feels like a way that, like, of course people have drawn this way. It feels very natural. It feels like, this is of course how you draw humans and these species and these monsters. It feels like, and of course,
I don't
and you know what
question
it does remind me
when I
of?
look at it.
Yeah, like exactly, yeah. And it does remind me a little bit of Hawkeye. The first run of Hawkeye that I read, which is the Fraction and Ham, and where it does have a little bit of a sketchy feel to it, but it doesn't like emphasize the sketchy in like an over dramatic way. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
Like the way the line work is done kind of feels like a sketch of a human. You know what I mean? It feels a little bit like art school, but like in a comic book. So I don't know. Like it's what you fall in love with when you read
they have to
Saga,
keep it simple.
Like, yeah, and the story is good, right? Like that's half of it, but a lot of what you fall in love with when you read comic books is the visuals. And like unfortunately that seems to be the ones that people talk about the least. And when they're talking about comic books. And this is also a little bit of a divergence for us because we don't really, I mean, like maybe weirdly, but we don't really focus on creators that much. Like when we are doing our spiels, like we really are much more analytical about story arcs and representation, and it's hard to like talk about these creators as, like people, because like you said, like, I don't know, it doesn't seem like there's a lot out there. And isn't that great though? Like if you think about it, isn't that amazing that you can be a huge bill paying member of an artistic job, right? Like you are a star that people talk about, but they don't know who you are. And you have that ability to keep yourself away from sort of that gross public eye that, like other people's like movie artists or, like famous art world sweepers don't necessarily get. Like, people who are out there in the public eye don't get like to do. Yeah. I don't know. Like I feel like it feels like the world of creators in this particular way is very, very near and far at the same time. Like because they are so faceless in some ways, they are definitely like unattainable and inaccessible. But then also, like, they're very human whenever you, like, meet them at conventions and stuff. Which is, I think, why comic conventions are so popular. And we're sort of, like, the thing that, out of all of the types of conventions, because there are so many different kinds of conventions, the thing that everyone knows about when they think about conventions is they think about Comic-Con,
But it's also why when bad things happen in the comic community, so many ripples come from it. The comic community, though it is not... You're not going to recognize a comic author with the same frequency as you might recognize an actor or a musician, like a popular singer. But since they are more accessible, they are easier to critique and to hate and to attack. Which some of it is deserved. I say that loosely in the sense of like, if you're a predator, you're a predator. You should be treated as such. But at the same time, if I think there is a fragility with that of if you do something wrong, or if one person, like critique can get really out of hand and really personal really quick. I'm not saying whether or not it's valid or anything like that, but I don't imagine that actors are as accessible as comic writers. And some of that is the nature of their work, the amount of money that they make, the longevity of that money. How many, yeah. It's like, it's amazing that you can get autographs if you go to a con, that are a lot cheaper than trying to get photographs with an actor. But at the same time, it's a little, I think, intimidating, because any kind of personhood around that can be easily lost, because they are an accessible producer of a commodity. And I think a
Yeah.
lot of people get associated with the commodity the product they produce, rather than who they are as a person. And Fiona doing really, really great work and drawing these stories doesn't, like, I think she should be respected and treated like a professional, because she's doing this work. But there's no way I'm going to read this and be like, I have to meet her at a con and she's my best friend. Yeah, but that's like a totally different thing.
Yeah.
She's just a professional doing her thing. But and I like the fact that she's actually not on social media, or like really easy to find, because it at least allows her to be anonymous and private. Might recognize her at a
Yeah.
con because I looked at her photo, and I looked at her in some videos, but I do like that she's, just doing her thing, producing work. I don't need to be able to access her. Like, that's fine. Like,
No, yeah.
I don't know.
I think so. I think so too. And like I've read a lot of the saga. I haven't read all of the saga because like it's been being released as after I've started reading it, and I'm a little bit like a goldfish when it comes to attention, because if it takes more than like a month for immediate gratification has always been my downfall. Like, so if I start a series that isn't completed yet,
Okay.
I will forget about it, and then later I'll find it and I'll be like, oh crap. Like, for instance, I'm reading a book right now that I read the first book in junior high and then never heard of the 7 other novels that came out in the same series after. So now I'm going back and rereading them. But and I think this is a little bit,
Nice.
this is going to be a different muscle stretch, because, like, it's hard to really get engaged with that aspect of fandom for me as a woman, because it has always been an gated community in a lot of ways. Like, I don't think it's as bad as it was when I was in college, but like, I don't know, I have that knee-jerk reaction of I don't want to be involved with that, because then I will be on display as a woman, and all of the things that come with it, and judgments that come with it, when if I'm just reading at home, I don't have to listen to it, and I don't have to deal with it, and I can just enjoy the books I enjoy. And so I kind of lost a lot of that access to the cult of creators, like the people, the big names, that and the society around it. It's really hard for me to engage with. I don't think I'm the only one who has this feeling, but I think that there are people worthy of being engaged with that should be accessed by people like me, because those are the stories I'm interested in. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to fawn over the creator of The Boys, whatever his name was, but I can sure fawn over Fiona Staples, and, in the same way, Brian K. Vaughan, or like the one that I follow around, anything that her name is on, I read it. She did Pretty Deadly. Kelly Sue DeConnick is like the closest I have to having a name that I follow around. So, like, in that way, I think that I'm really going to enjoy this, because it'll give me a face and a name to follow around a little bit more, and maybe help me target stuff that is more to my tastes. It's a service we're putting out there for the world, for people who like the stuff that we've read. Hey, here's a person, and here's what they've done. So,
but kind of on that note, I think Fiona also agrees with you in not gatekeeping it anymore. She mentioned at one point that when her series first started, about 40% of the readership, to their knowledge, was women, and a lot of them were first-time comic readers. So Saga, whatever about it could be Brian's story, but I think comics are sold on the art. So Fiona's art made it more accessible. The story as well, obviously, like it's a communal work, but Fiona definitely should take some responsibility for creating or representing a series that got new readers in. She actually, in one of her interviews, she mentioned that mainstream comics, so the big two, are actually pretty niche comics because superhero is a pretty niche genre. It is a specific genre. Not every comic book is for that. And so she might be writing a niche comic, sci-fi fantasy kind of comic, but it's still important because it's going to be reaching a greater audience and a wider audience like it did. I mean, bringing in first-time women readers, that's amazing. Like, break that boy club down, Fiona. Proud of you.
Yeah.
Like, thank you for doing that. Also, Brian K. Vaughan, thank you. But, like, this is about Fiona, so...
Yeah, Fiona.
Thanks, Fiona.
Fiona. Also, shout out to having a badass name, Fiona Staples. I like verb names. It makes me happy. Like, my last name's boring and sad and easily made fun of. So it was probably terrible having a verb name, and people who have verb names probably don't like it. But I really enjoy it, and I totally.
I mean, her name is very dynamic. Like,
yeah,
you have a verb for a name. You have an action name.
Yes, agreed. Thank you. This is a weird thought
Staples
that I have.
Is an action-packed word.
I love verb names.
No, it's
there. I've said it.
Verb names. There. Admitting problems is the first step. Now, so, but no, that's a little bit about Fiona, and I guess our tangent thoughts. It will be fun to talk about creators a little bit more, and I think it'll be great that we talk about artists a little bit more, just because we don't. You know, when we talk about stories and we talk about the narrative, it is, of course, the author. But I have seen many a person put down a great story because of bad art, or pick up a bad story because of great art. So artists should be talked about. And credit where credit is due. And, you know, I will throw a letterer or a colorist in here as well, because they're all important members of the team. And letterers are the reason that you can read a book. And artists are the reason you can follow the story. I'm going to step off my soapbox. And we're done.
Also, I think it's really funny. It's one of my favorite things when you have collected editions, and at the end of it, they kind of talk about their creative process, like how they work together as an artist and as a comics writer. I think a lot of people who are like me buy a lot of collected editions, so they see a lot of that. So I'm wondering if maybe people will be paying a lot more attention to those aspects of comics, because I know probably one of the first collected editions I got that did this was my Hawkeye edition, where they spent, it was a hardback because I'm bougie and I wanted it real bad. And so at the end of it, they did like a whole presentation of like how that artist used color in such a dynamic way to change scenes and set tones. And I noticed a little bit of that in Saga when I was flipping through it, trying to look exclusively at the art. And I am like pretty excited to start talking about more of that. I just have to like figure out how to talk about it.
It's okay. We tried with this, and we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
It'll be fun.
Oh, another random little Fiona fact. She loves goblins. That might be a little bit more than what... I mean, fair point. Or like, she really is fascinated by goblins. Anyway, I just thought that was really cool. I was like, hell yeah. Goblins are a good monster. So
yeah, they are. Heck yeah, they are. Actually, they were one of my favorite monsters growing up because of the Black Cauldron. You remember that? Like old Disney-ish style.
Mm-hmm.
They stomped on the goblins' feet. Like, those were, that's some good shit. Like, those are the best. Also, they're kind of like a low, like, they're threatening, but they're sort of like a low, I don't know, we've talked about this before, where it's good when the monsters match the protagonists. Like, when adolescents go against a pretty, like, toothless monster that are still annoying and bad. So it's sort of like just kids beating
that is a goblin.
And then Yeah, like goblins are good for that.
Goblins are super low CR.
Has she done anything since?
Yeah, she did Archie, the kind of edgier Archie. That I think was like 2014, 15, which that was also exciting for her because she read Archie as a kid. So good for her.
Good for her. I could totally see that. Because she's got just a distinct type of way that she does. Like, she's got her own artistic blueprint, you know? Like, I could see that. And she's a Hugo winner.
Yeah.
Yeah, for Saga. I mean, that's why we were talking about Saga so much.
Yeah.
I think it's really exciting whenever you get those fan awards. I know there's something in, like, every single award that you can look at has its inherent problems, but if I was doing something, fan awards would mean a lot to me. Probably more so than, like, bestsellers list, because so much of that is political with the... All of it's political. But, you know, like, besides the money part that comes with bestsellers list, fan recognition, I think, would be very important in whatever field you're in. Like,
word of mouth is very important for comics.
Yeah. And I think that's why I think the community is special in person, but kind of toxic online. How about that? Like, I feel the energy of a comics convention or of a convention period, and it feels very exciting still, even if I know that it can get bad so fast. But
yeah. But no, I have run out. That was a little bit about Fiona Staples. I have run out of Fiona facts. We really liked her art, and I'm really just excited about her perspective and how she decided to design things and research. And I think that's just really, really cool from someone who's outside of the industry.
I like it. I also like the song. That's a good song. We should keep that song.
Should we? So thank you, everybody, for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for being here, because, like...
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm strong. I'm like, how do we end things? I forgot how we end things every time. I'm like, oh shit, how does this go?
Do you know how we end it? Thank you for being here today. Bye. I think a lot of my headache is tension related, because sometimes I'll like pull my shoulders down to where they're supposed to be and everything hurts, and then I feel like an old person. Yeah. So behind the curtain, if you're recording, please sit comfortably and safely before sitting down, because I was sitting on my foot and regret that.
I love it. Oh my gosh.